Hello and welcome. Today is June 14, 2025. Thank you for being here. I'd like to reiterate again that I am a real human being. I don't use AI on my channel. I'm actually very much anti-AI, other than like things that Microdots does with AI, that he does pretty amazing things with AI. But other than that, I'm very much anti AI. I don't like this new era we're all being forced into. I am not AI, and I will not be using AI on this channel unless, again, I'm featuring a Microdots video or something of the sort. So, uh, and any supporters who've seen me in person, please feel free to comment below and vouch for me that I'm a real human being. I don't know what it is. Like, it's not like I'm flawless. I've got flaws. Yeah, I'm not AI. I'm breathing here in Massachusetts. I'm real, and the corruption's real. And I've been covering the Karen Reed case for about a year now. So yeah, I'm not AI, guys. I'm not AI. Anyway, we're going to watch a few minutes of this Carl Steinbeck video, and then we will watch a few minutes of an Ian Runkle video before I share the recordings and photographs I took with the supporters at Michael Morrissey's office the other day. It was amazing. I'm still, that kind of energy is contagious. Just that's what real like fighting is about. Fighting the good fight is about. Um, it's about being brave, being courageous, and being stronger than the corruption you're being faced with. We all have to be stronger than this corruption. So anyway, thank you for being here.
You don't have any information that Dr. Welcher ever claimed that his test was intended to represent exactly how Mr. O'Keefe's arm was when he was hit.
Of course he was. Why else was he doing that?
Do you?
Well, the evidence.
I pretty much had the same reaction as Carl when I first heard this. It was like that record screech when you're playing a record player. It's like ring. Like, what the hell are you saying, Hank Brennan?
Evidence I have for that is that in his report, he says that the orientation and position of the lacerations are consistent with the orientation position of the taillight cover. And then right under that, he has reference to that test that he performed. So again, if he didn't intend to do that, then there's no evidence.
He actually testified, and it was brought up where he said that Karen's SUV did hit John O'Keefe, and he was demonstrating it and using the video clip of the Blue Man science, so quote unquote science experiment. So because it wasn't his report, but he testified to it. So now what Brennan's doing is he's splitting hairs, and he's trying to make it look like, oh, he never said that was actually what happened is what I was demonstrating. I'm not saying that's what happened. I was just showing what an example of what could happen or something like that. I mean, this is so deceptive. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, this was like the king of all gaslight attempts from Hank Brennan. He's been gaslighting us this entire time, since he entered this case, especially during the motions hearings and during this trial. Remember, he was given 2 opportunities to abuse Dr. Mary Russell, Dr. Daniel Wolf, and Dr. Andrew Rentschler. He was given multiple opportunities to abuse all of those expert witnesses, real expert witnesses, and he gaslit all of us over and over again. And in this moment, during the retrial, it's like the epitome of the gaslighting
That he can provide with respect to the arm impact at all. That's the only test that was performed to look at the arm and the taillight cover.
That's right. The only test. So why else would he be doing it, Brennan? This is so misleading. Unbelievable.
If it doesn't represent the actual position, then apparently he has no idea how the arm was positioned or how it was impacted.
Let's get back to my question.
Yes.
Why didn't you just lay on the ground and have the car run over him? Would that help show what happened to John O'Keefe? Maybe the tires hit him in the head, cause that crushed skull.
Is there anything where Dr. Welcher has informed you or written that he is intending to represent the actual arm angle of John O'Keefe when he was hit by Alexis?
What a spin. Wow, what a spin move. This is so slick.
Again, I just described what he has.
Again, guys, Hank Brennan is like textbook grandiose narcissistic abuser, like textbook. Like that reality you thought you observed with your own eyes, that didn't really happen. What's your interpretation of that reality? What's that interpretation? Like you're making up this weird interpretation of what you heard and what you saw, you know, and it's just not what it was. Like, how could you be so mistaken? Like, again, I will keep saying it. Hank Brennan is a dick.
As in his actual report. So he didn't write specifically that that's what it's intended.
You know, defense should have done a move to strike his entire testimony then.
Right.
Because he's completely misleading the jury. He's doing tests that were not representative of what the prosecution's theory is.
To do it.
Right. And hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of testing, bullshit testing.
Seems he's inferred that. And again, that's the only test that he's performed or referred to.
Remember, he said exactly matched up. He showed the arm there and he says it exactly matched up. What else does he talk about? Man, what
this case?
You inferred that.
Inferred.
And for those of you who don't know, Carl Steinbeck is an attorney in Texas. Okay, this is an attorney speaking. Okay. It's more validating, right? Coming from someone who understands the law, someone who understands how the courtroom decorum is supposed to be, someone who understands how an attorney is supposed to behave. Carl Steinbeck has been expressing anger and frustration about this case in ways that so few attorneys are willing to express it. Like, I feel like a lot of attorneys stop, they stop themselves. They're worried about their bar, or they're worried about the profitability of their channel. So they don't say enough. Carl Steinbeck is different.
Inferred that's how.
Man, so now we got the issue with the x-rays, the hoodie holes, and now this, that the Blue Man demo, he's trying to backtrack that and not make it look like that's what we're trying to say happened to the jury. So in other words, you're trying to trick the jury by showing something that didn't happen, really?
That's how he believes that the arm was positioned.
I think we understand your perspective is that's the only test he performed, but what I really want to get at is your conclusion, your assumption that Dr. Welcher was suggesting that there was a specific arm angle that occurred in this case that he was identifying. You don't see that anywhere in his report.
Well, it would be pretty odd if the one test he ran didn't actually represent what he thought happened. I don't understand what the value of that would actually be.
Right. This is sanity. This is sanity coming through Dr. Andrew Rentschler's mouth, right? The sanity is trying to peek through those dark clouds that Hank Brennan just casted over the courtroom. Like what the hell is Hank Brennan doing?
Dr. Welcher ever represent that he was trying to describe the actual body position of John O'Keefe when he was hit?
Actually, he doesn't state that. He states very little in his report or in his PowerPoint. He demonstrates through the video of his arm like that and contacting it, and then he holds his arm up to a picture.
Yeah, he's ticked off because you're lying to this jury. You're lying to this jury. No, prosecution goes second. Defense argues first, and then with their closing, and then prosecution. There is no rebuttal
Of Mr. O'Keefe's.
Carl was responding to a comment.
right arm to
Weird.
compare and apparently demonstrate that it's in the same area. But again, he doesn't actually state that opinion. He doesn't state any opinions that the contact actually occurred, except
He knew the blue man is a ridicule, a laughing stock, non-scientific experiment. Hank knows that, and now he's trying to walk it back by saying, "Well, he never actually says that in this report," and now he's trying to get this guy to say that this was something other than that. It has to be something other than that. What else would it be? There's nothing else. But he was trying to demonstrate because he had the arm perfectly aligned. That's what he was trying to say, that the arm was perfectly aligned with the scratches.
up in one point.
Right. And if you guys recall, there were moments when Hank Brennan was defending Dr. Welcher, and Hank Brennan was like, everybody wants to make fun of him. And I was like, how do you know everybody's making fun of him, Hank Brennan? You know, and it's like Hank Brennan must have been going on social media, going on YouTube to see what everyone was saying about Dr. Judson Welcher's testimony. Bullshit testimony, bullshit science. Like undeserving of the word science. And Hank Brennan's all about optics. Again, he's a grandiose narcissist. He's all about optics, right? And he was probably pissed off, maybe even a little discouraged that the online community was like, fuck Dr. Judson Welcher. That joke, didn't do a damn bit of science. What the hell? That's taxpayer money right there, out the fucking window, right? And so Hank Brennan just had to clear the record. He had to at least make the attempt. And everybody wants to make fun of Welcher. Like, yes, Hank Brennan, because it was a joke. The laughter is well deserved, but he wants to take this opportunity with Dr. Rentschler and almost like put that on Dr. Rentschler, as if it's Dr. Rentschler's fault that Dr. Judson Welcher sucked so much, Like, no, Hank Brennan, this is all on you. This is all on your boss, all on Michael Morrissey, all on the bullshitters in Norfolk County. You guys take some responsibility for that. If you don't want the public to laugh at you, don't do bullshit. Don't try to mislead people, as if there aren't people watching who understand the scientific method. Again, I'll keep saying it. Michael Morrissey thinks we are all idiots.
And has no evidence or foundation for that.
Would the answer to my question be no?
You would have to ask Dr. Welcher, I suppose. But if it's not, again, then I'm not sure what that test actually accomplished or represented.
You've made assumptions and then have given opinions to this jury based on your assumptions, haven't you?
I've evaluated the evidence in the one test he ran. If that's incorrect, well, then I would have to correct my opinion and my assumption and say that not only is the test not actually show what occurred, but he hasn't performed anything to actually link the arm contact to the taillight cover. If it doesn't represent that, you're right, I'd change my opinion.
I also suspect that, remember, guys, Hank Brennan wanted a rebuttal after Dr. Rentschler's testimony. Hank Brennan wanted Dr. Judson Welcher to rebut Dr. Andrew Rentschler's testimony. And I've had this feeling, that I've had the hunch that both Hank Brennan was too embarrassed to go through with it, and so too was Dr. Judson Welcher. I can imagine Dr. Judson Welcher also observed what the online community was saying about him, and he backed away. He cowered away. Like, I'm not going to show myself on that screen again. They didn't believe me. Like, no shit, Dr. Welcher. No shit.
That there's no evidence, no analysis, no conclusion whatsoever.
Yeah, so there's zero evidence presented by Welcher of how the arm got struck or had those injuries.
I'm going to try to make my question a little clearer.
Unbelievable.
Is there anything in the report where Dr. Welcher has stated
Never.
that the arm angle in the demonstration was in any way attempt to replicate exactly how John O'Keefe's arm was when he was struck by a weapon?
Carl Steinbeck received a comment that asked him if he had ever been so exacerbated watching a case before. And Carl Steinbeck's response was never. And Carl Steinbeck has maintained that fervor, especially during the retrial. He's maintained that energy that he has never seen a case like this in his life.
I don't believe anything's written in the report with respect to that, no.
Is there anything in the report, Dr. Anything that states Dr. Welcher was stating or claiming that he knew the body position of John O'Keefe when he was struck?
I'm going to allow that.
So no, I guess there is no opinion or conclusion that he knows how Mr. O'Keefe was actually positioned at the time of this alleged incident. You're correct.
He never gives any details. He just went up there, showed this is how he was hit. And he actually said that the vehicle struck John's. He said that at least twice that I caught. The defense didn't object. And then he had to change it to say the consistent, the injuries are consistent.
Remember that, guys, when the defense fought back, they pushed back because the prosecution allowed Dr. Welcher to answer the question definitively that John O'Keefe was struck by the vehicle. And that's not something you do in court. You say John O'Keefe's wounds were consistent with having been struck or inconsistent with having been struck. We all witnessed that if you were paying attention. And so even after all that, even after Dr. Welcher states it definitively that because of his testing, it could only be that John O'Keefe was struck by Karen Reed's SUV. Even after he stated that in the record, Hank Brennan now wants to recant. He wants to walk it back with Dr. Rentschler and say that wasn't what he was trying to say, when that's exactly what he said. Again, guys, the epitome of the gaslighting.
Are consistent with being struck by a Lexus vehicle like the defendant had, or words to that effect. So that was definitely something that he's trying to walk back now, and it's a complete misdirection, 100% misdirection now.
Right. Whether Dr. Welcher has been clear that he does not know. Let me say this differently. You would agree, Dr. Welcher has never stated in his report that he can identify the speed at which Mr. O'Keefe was struck in a collision.
He does not state what he thinks the speed is. That's correct.
He never states how far, if at all, Mr. O'Keefe was thrown after being in a collision.
That's right. He does not.
When you don't know the speed,
I'll let him
you don't
finish.
know the body position, and you don't know the angle of the body at the time of collision, you cannot replicate a collision with crash test dummies to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty.
Well, you're right. You can't prove that actually occurred. That's the basis. Yeah.
So
if you don't have the
can-
information, you can't replicate what happened. You can't determine.
He just killed his case right here.
Right.
Welcher cannot even say where he was at, what speed the SUV was going. No details. None. They don't even have measurements of where the body was, how it got moved, where it got, did it get twisted around? Did it get spun around, flipped around? They know nothing. They don't know where was he hit by standing on the curb? Was he 10 feet up from the flagpole? Was he, none of these details they can state, and they try to do it through Welcher for all that money for $400,000, and they got nothing to show for it. And he just basically blew up his own case right here.
Yep.
And so that's why right now, that's why the title of this is Brennan is so lost. He uses this Dr. Rentschler to prove that there was no SUV strike. That's how messed up in the head this guy is.
Absolutely.
Brennan, I'm talking about.
Wow.
Yeah.
You can't state to any conclusion of accuracy what actually occurred if you don't have the evidence.
So you what you do.
There's no evidence right there. He just said it. Where's the evidence? Where's it from Welcher? Welcher can't even say it. So think about it, guys. This prosecutor just brought out that his own expert, the only one that says of all the witnesses that testified in 31 days, it's the only one that could tie the car to striking John O'Keefe.
Yep.
And now he just basically tried to impeach this witness with that information. But what he doesn't realize is that he just completely blew Welcher completely out of the water. He blew him to smithereens. He just admitted they don't know what happened. They can't take anything to say how a vehicle strike happened because there's no evidence of a single witness, not even an expert for the Commonwealth. That's how bad he just blew up in his face.
A crash reenactment, but couldn't state to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty.
I'm looking at Dr. Andrew Rentschler's body language here, and he's not comfortable. He's tense. He's maybe even a little pissed off. You know, again, Hank Brennan is shitting on the science here, and he is misrepresenting the facts here, the ultimate gaslight of this entire retrial. And Dr. Rentschler, he's got too much integrity to just sit there and allow Hank Brennan to do this.
This replicated the actual collision.
You can't replicate an actual collision that is proven it wasn't a collision.
Right.
You have no evidence.
That wouldn't be scientifically reliable to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty, would it?
Well, if you perform a test and you state this is what I tested and this is the angle, then you can certainly say these are my conclusions. But if you don't know,
I read that last comment on the screen, and it said, like, it was one of those moments that Hank Brennan forgot he wasn't a defense lawyer. It's so true, guys. Throughout this retrial, the way he was questioning his own witnesses, like the prosecution's witnesses, Hank Brennan was like, dude, what are you doing? You're actually helping the defense by trying to discredit your own witness. It's so true that it's as if Hank Brennan throughout this retrial forgot that he's not a defense attorney.
know the throw distance, if you don't know the position, then you're correct. You can't actually come to a conclusion that it didn't occur. If you don't know how something occurred, how can you conclude that it actually occurred? It scientifically makes no sense.
You know, and Dr. Andrew said happy birthday to his son the other day, and I thought that was so sweet. And of course, Judge Bev, the hater, shot it down. But I thought that was so sweet of him to do that on like international television on a case, in a high profile case that's being observed internationally. So sweet, you know, and I'm sure Kai greatly appreciated it. And I bet Kai knows how to do real science experiments, unlike Dr. Judson Welcher.
So if an expert does a crash test and they can't determine to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty that it replicates the actual collision, you would agree that would not be a reliable test to present to a jury, don't you?
I'm gonna, very briefly.
All right, let's check out this video. And then we'll check out a few minutes of Ian Runkle. I recorded this at the courthouse last Tuesday. There weren't nearly as many supporters there on Tuesday as there were yesterday on Friday the 13th. But this is me fangirling to Dr. Andrew Rentschler as he comes out of the Superior Courthouse.
But it's just that the timing was awful.
This is the guy who just testified.
I need 2 hands.
I need 2 hands. He's not the guy, but he's like the top. Yeah.
Dr. Rentschler!
Woo!
Oh, we're just not
I got a little smirk from him, just a little. I'm going to rewind it a little bit.
Rentschler!
There it goes.
Dr. Rentschler!
Hey, I will fangirl for that man any day. Okay, let's check out this, a few minutes of this one from Ian Runkle. I know I said I was only going to do a few minutes of Carl Steinbeck, but it was really important that we experience that moment in the retrial again, because again, it was the epitome of the gaslighting. And it really did, like Carl Steinbeck said, it really did trash the prosecution's case. You know, it's like, I don't know what Michael Morrissey said to Hank Brennan that day after the trial, but if I were Hank Brennan's boss and my objective was to frame Karen Reed, I would have been pretty pissed at Hank Brennan for what he just did. So let's check out Ian Runkle. And for those of you who don't know, Ian Runkle is an attorney in Canada.
So I do say that when I say Ms. Harnett did this. So rewording it just a little bit.
Yes, exactly.
Mr. Brennan asked Dr. Wolf about holes in the back of the sweatshirt. I instruct you that you are not permitted to draw any inference that those holes.
And guys, if you were watching, Robert Alessi is looking down at his co-counsel as the camera moves away and directs the angle to Judge Bev's, to where Judge Bev is. I'm just so like clearly Robert Alessi is looking down at his co-counsel. You know, like how many attorneys are there in the defense team? Like,
Were a result of the events on January 29th, 20. So
do you see that? Do you see how her shoulders drop? She gives him like a second, right? And if you were watching, again, Robert Alessi was looking down at his co-counsel, right? There's like 4 or 5 attorneys there. Like, they could be saying anything. And for her to have this reaction, oh my gosh.
all right, this is what I'm going to say. So if you're not going to listen to it, that's fine. I've already.
What, like, let's just watch this again.
That those holes were a result of the events on January 29th, 20. So all right, this is what I'm going to say. So if you're not going to listen to it, that's fine. I've already said it. All right, we can bring the jury in.
Look at that. She wasn't even willing to hear any response, any feedback. She wasn't willing to hear an explanation. She was just like, I saw you for half a second and you weren't looking at me. So if you're not going to listen to me, let's bring in the jury right now. You know, and guys, this is supposed to be her attempt to correct the prosecution, right? This is the moment where she is supposed to be telling the jury, clearing the record, and making sure the jury knows that the cuts on John O'Keefe's hoodie did not happen because of an accident, but because of the criminalist, right? Hank Brennan had misrepresented to the jury that those cuts must have come from a so-called collision, right? And this is Judge Bev supposed to be correcting the record. This is her in the moment. She is supposed to be putting forth the effort to correct the record. And instead of her being pissed off at the prosecution for making her do this in the first place, she's taking it out on the defense.
She just has this little angry fit. Oh, if you're not going to listen to me, I'm just going to go. What the fuck? Because you know what I'm betting was going on there? I'm betting Alessi was like leaning over to whisper to Karen Reed or whisper to Jackson, or was on his computer writing something, because he's doing his fucking job, right? That's his job. And sometimes in trial, I'm sitting there like, I'm listening to the judge, but I got to talk to my client, right? I got to tell my client, hey, client, this is what's happening. Like, this is a good thing. This is a bad thing. This is whatever. This little hissy fit, this little temper tantrum, this little childish whatever the fuck this is completely inappropriate. It is completely wild. And I just don't I don't see how she does it, right? I don't see how she gets away with it. And I see potentially criminals in the chat. I missed his comment here, but I'm trying to find it in my back scroll here. Where is it? Or did he just end his stream and send people over? Oh, let's see. Where is potentially criminal? I see he was rating. Potentially criminal had a great comment that he sent me, and I want to give him proper credit for it. I assume he won't give me too much shit for talking about something he DM'd me, but it was a really good comment, and I really want to highlight it because what he points out is look at her demeanor here. Her demeanor is petulant at the defense counsel. Her demeanor is otherwise pretty calm. It's pretty chill. She's like, meh, whatever. She's annoyed that she doesn't think defense counsel are showing her sufficient respect, that she's, that they're talking amongst themselves or something like that.
Remember, guys, she gave them a half second, right? She's looking down, explaining how she's going to correct the record. And then she looks up and it's like a half second. She's analyzing what they're doing, and she gives them a half second, and she immediately jumps to the conclusion that they weren't listening to her. That's how she feels about this defense team. She thinks they're up to no good all the damn time. Again, she's repeatedly said throughout this retrial and through the motions hearings. Remember when Hank Brennan wanted to sanction the defense for so-called misrepresenting their communications with ARCA, those grave concerns she had, right? She said it over and over again that the defense did this deliberately, that they are doing things deliberately. They are being secretive deliberately. That's what this judge thinks of this defense. But she will not. She refuses to be like that with the prosecution. So one-sided.
But you know what she's not doing? She's not seething with anger. You remember when she did her whole I have grave concerns speech, and she's sitting there seething with barely contained rage at the defense counsel? You remember how she's holding her glasses and she's literal, she's trembling with rage? Where's that?
Right.
Where's that? Where is the yelling at Brennan? Where is the, where's any of this? Right? Come on. Come on. And then let's watch what she does. She said she promised all these things, and then let's see what she actually does.
It's what I said, Mr. Alessi. Okay. All right. So it's what I said, Mr. Alessi.
And Jackson there says, Your Honor, I was consulting with Mr. Alessi. I'm not showing disrespect to the court. When there's more than one lawyer, of course they're going to talk to each other mid-trial, right? And especially about something pivotal like this. And she is this is unreasonable. This is undefensible her having this little rage fit. This is one of those moments that when you're like, if Karen is convicted, then this goes in the appeal, right? This goes in the appeal filing as to reasonable apprehension of bias, right?
Absolutely. Like, just add it to the pile of multiple instances in which this judge could not conduct herself when it came to the defense. And she could not control her courtroom when it came to Hank Brennan, right? Never getting pissed off at Hank Brennan, but always getting pissed off at the defense, even when they're not doing anything wrong.
That she decides to chew them out for just having a little, like, for discussing their trial strategy. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, are you kidding me? No, they're allowed. They're so allowed. Oh. All right.
I instruct you that you're not permitted
Yes.
to draw an inference that
Runkle, excuse me, Runkle received a comment and it read, "Do you think the motion should have been granted?" And they were referring to the motion for a mistrial with prejudice. That was the first motion for a mistrial with prejudice because of how Hank Brennan had misrepresented the cuts into John O'Keefe's clothing. And she, of course, denied it. But Ian Runkle thinks she should have granted it.
the holes came from the events of January 29, 2025. Those holes were made by the criminalist Ms. Harnett during the course of her inspection and sampling of the sweatshirt on May 18, 2023.
Is it possible, Your Honor, last comment to instead of not drawing inference, you should conclude that these holes were not present in the hoodie sweatshirt. They were caused by the criminalist.
So I can just leave that all out then and just say, Mr. Brennan asked Dr. Wolf about the holes in the sweatshirt. I instruct you that those holes were made by the criminalist Ms. Harnett during the course of her inspection and sampling of the sweatshirt on May 18th.
Did you catch what she just said? That she was going to tell the jury that Mr. Brennan said this, right? But she needs to clarify the record, right? She mentioned Mr. Brennan.
It's probably neater that way anyway. All right, let's bring them in, please. Why don't you hold the exhibit up for the jurors, please? All right, jurors, that's the back of the sweatshirt that was shown to Dr. Wolf. So, jurors, I instruct you that those holes were made by the criminalist, Ms. Harnett, during the course of her inspection and sampling of the sweatshirt back on May 18th, 2023. Okay? So.
What? What? That is such a weak shit. Like, that's not a curative instruction because the jury's gonna be like, I don't even know what the hell this is about.
Right.
What a proper curative instruction could have looked like here would have been something like, jurors, you may have heard suggestions that these holes in the shirt were the result of road rash or other, similar or other damage in the alleged incident. This is impossible. These holes were in fact made subsequent to John O'Keefe's death, after his death, by the criminalist in the course of their investigation. It is not possible that these holes were created as, in the course of, any alleged incident or anything that occurred on the relevant date. You are to entirely disregard any questioning towards that level. Mr. Brennan was in error in suggesting this to the witness, and Mr. Brennan agrees that this this instruction is appropriate and necessary. Something like that, right?
Right.
A little more curative.
Yeah. Again, guys, remember, she said Mr. Brennan, right? She made it seem like she presented it to the defense as if she was going to mention Mr. Brennan. She didn't mention anything about the prosecution. She stated it like a fact, like these came from the criminalist, and she left it at that. No explanation, just like Ian Runkle said. What is the jury supposed to think about it? You're not even going to explain. Just fucked up corruption. Just fucked up corruption. Like, this is ridiculous. You know, like, it's just over and over again. She has proven, Judge Beverly Cannoni has proven her bias here, that she is in fact biased. She is supportive of the prosecution even when they deliberately mislead the jury. And she treats the defense like shit. So many people watching this case are keeping track of the times she sustains the prosecution's objections and she overrules the defense's objections. And a majority of the objections she sustains are for the prosecution. Okay, I'm going to show you these videos that I recorded at my Morrissey office the other day. I did upload 2 videos, and it's none of these. These are like short 30-second, 40-second videos of people there demonstrating. And again, it was a profound experience. It was great.
Indonesia. This is Women of the World. Trip to Indonesia.
And Jason Broyles says something about Indonesia. Dina McKean is going to be going to Indonesia soon. All right, we're going to play this one.
What do you think? I think they have to hear us today, so we're going to make some noise.
We're bringing the noise. Go, baby, we bringing our toys. Separate me from the boys. Chopper be singing, should be on the voice. Bang, bang, we gon' ride out. Gang, gang, we gon' die out. Want it like this, ain't no time outs. Tell me who really gon' find out. We just stuff in the place. And not scaring nobody. You make me resort to wilding. You must be behind the diamonds hiding. When it could be this way, but y'all won't need to try this. So it's no way around it. You the loudest one that's
All right. And then this one. Aerosmith is Dina McKean's favorite band, so I had to record this. And that's Brandy. I love her sign. It reads, "Murderers work here." And this is William Billingston. He's the one that made that meme of Dr. Judson Welcher with the blue paint and the drawing, the stick figure drawing. Yeah, that's this genius right here. Such a great time, guys. Again, if you're in Massachusetts or if you're in a neighboring state, please come down, come join the supporters. They will accept you with open arms. Let's play this one. All right, and then this one, I have it on a faster speed. I did upload this video. I'm just going to play a few moments of it. It's, again, I'm going to play it at a higher speed.
Here we go. We all know that I don't write speeches down because I'm terrible at it, but.
Someone asked me, someone commented asking who the first female speaker was. And again, this is Dina McKean. If you'd like to follow her, she's on Facebook and she also helps run the YouTube channel, Resistant to Silence. Resistant to Silence. And it's also a Facebook group, Resistant to Silence, for anyone who wants to follow Dina McKean.
But first off, I want to thank everybody here because all of you guys have become family, all of us to each other. We've spent, 3 years, let's just say, together protesting, giving stuff up, and fighting the good fight. And what started off as like learning about stuff has become signs like this, where it's not one person, it's multiple people. And that's really sad that we're here doing this in front of this office, and this office is responsible for the people's faces on these banners and signs and everything. It's disgusting. As a resident of Massachusetts, I'm horrified because we grow up, you're supposed to respect your police, you're supposed to trust them. We raise our children and say, if you're ever lost, go find a police officer. He's going to help you. Well, here in Norfolk County, we know that's bullshit because you can't tell who's a good police officer and who's a bad police officer, which is sad because there's plenty of good police officers out there. But right now we're fighting because we want the bad ones gone. And everybody here has bled, sweat, tears, so much stuff in order to bring out the truth in Norfolk, to the world of what's going on here in Norfolk County. And all of you guys, I've said it a million times, I'll say it again. We're a huge puzzle, and every single piece, every single one of you is a piece of that puzzle. And a puzzle is no good if we're missing a piece. So all of you guys deserve like rounds of applause for what you've all given up. Especially I want to say to the people of Canton. Sometimes we forget that these people live here in this county and they have gone through holy hell trying to keep their voices out there for everyone to know. On that note, we are just about ready to free Karen Reed. Yeah. We know anyone with half a brain knows that there's reasonable doubt. Anybody out there, and the world's watching this, and they're all looking at the same thing. The defense had a great week with the doctors and the experts that testified. So we're confident she's going to walk out of there free of those charges. But it doesn't end there. This all gathered because Aiden reported on it and brought it out to the light. And that's what made us all gather here and fight for the good fight. So, but when Karen is free of these charges, we need to make sure that they don't forget we're not going anywhere. Because we then have to seek justice for Boston police officer John O'Keefe. And then, and then we have Sandra Birchmore and her unborn child. Nobody here has forgotten this stuff. And then on top of that, we have Just on Rue. Nobody here has forgotten that. And then on top of that, Enrique Delgado Garcia. We haven't forgotten that. The world likes to portray like, oh, we forgot about John. He was lost in this. No, he wasn't. But we only have two arms. We only have one heart. We have to put 110% out there, almost like one at a time, because you sacrifice so much. So nobody is forgotten. And that's why they all put together this, because you know what? Together we are stronger. Together our voices, we can raise mountains. I mean, we've seen what we can do as a whole unit. So I just want to say, don't give up. Don't give up. Keep on fighting, because they're hoping when this is over with Karen that we walk away and we're going to be silent. And I just want to say, oh, fuck no, we're not. We're not going anywhere, people. We're stronger. The world's watching. They're going to join in, and we're not giving up till that fat ass in this office is gone. One. I want.
And I will leave the link to this video. It's a 30-minute video, I think. And again, it features all the speakers that were there at Michael Morrissey's office on Thursday. It was just Thursday, June 12th. So just a couple days ago. And again, it'll be in the description below if you'd like to listen to everyone who had something to say. Justin Root's sister, Jen Root, spoke. Jason Broyles spoke. Mizzy from Mixed Girl in a Mixed Up World, she spoke. So it's really important that you all hear about these stories, because they are all connected through the corruption in Norfolk County. I'm going to play this one. It's a shorter video, and then I will conclude this recording.
At the end of Court TV, Matt Johnson, that piece of shit now, Mizzy went to talk to him about Sandra Birchmore. She started to speak to him, and that motherfucker turned his back and walked away. I started yelling at him, get back here, get back here. You need to talk about Sandra Birchmore. And you know what Matt, piece of shit Johnson said? He goes, I am only working on the Karen Reed case right now.
This is good, because when Court TV wants to interview Mizzy when the trial starts, we can tell them to go fuck themselves.
So a nice word out to Court TV. I told him this standout was today 2 to 4 o'clock. He could have packed up that little bit of equipment he had and got his stinking ass down here and to film a little bit or interview. Because you know what? When he comes back crawling, when it's Enrique Delgado Garcia, when it's Sandra Birchmore, when it's Just on Rue, when it's seeking justice for Officer John O'Keefe, ignore that piece of shit. He can go up in a hole with Julie Grant, because Court TV just proved who they are. Amen.
Absolutely. And I've been saying that about Court TV for a long time now, especially with Julie Grant. That's when I really learned that Court TV is just here for the sensationalism. They're just here for the clicks. That's about it, for the profitability. You know, it's why I don't do mainstream media. I will not support Court TV. I hardly want to support Law and Crime, because they're of the same vein, but I will tune into other channels. I go out of my way to avoid Court TV. Fuck them. I'm in a total agreement with Dina and Jason there. Just such a disservice, you know, and maybe some people are like, they got a job to do. They have bosses to listen to. They can't just show up to a protest. It's like, no, the point is that they're only there at the courthouse for clicks, for profit. They're not there because an innocent woman is being framed for a crime she never committed. They're not there because an innocent officer was murdered inside 34 Fairview. They don't give a shit. They're just there for clicks, for profit. Anyway, I will leave the link to the 30-minute video at Michael Morrissey's office in the description below. And I'll also leave the links to Carl Steinbeck's video and Ian Runkle's video. Thank you all for watching.